Welcome, craft beer friends, to Season 8, Episode 1 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Denny Lewis, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle, from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
So far, that Drinking Eagle thing has not gotten old yet. And you know what? Probably won't.
It won't get old, especially in my mind. I've got a T-shirt design with a drinking eagle for your mascot. So I hope I have enough time one day to make that a reality for you.
Okay. Well, this evening I'm doing pretty good. Had a long couple of days. Wait, today's only Monday, so I had a long day at work today. Felt so long, it felt like two. But in my glass tonight, and here's where as I was told, the misrepresentation happened. I'm drinking a beer from Barriehaus Beer Company here in Tampa, Florida. It's their Crispy Boy Summer Series. It is the Bravo Ragazzo, and there is a German Shepherd on this can, not Belgian, Amanda. And this is, let's see.
How can you tell with that can art that it wasn't a Belgian Malinois?
Yeah. It's just because Matt Knight said my glass is empty, I need to fill it. Just the coloring on their head. So like with Cajun, for example, this mask isn't there. More like their muzzle and their eyes are normally more black. And he's all tan when it comes down to like his shoulders and stuff. So
okay. But for the novice wouldn't know, right?
No, and it's a running joke. I also do it's also a cartoon. I don't care if it's a cartoon, Amanda. It's also a cartoon, but no one tell Chris. I'm gonna have to like block her. She's getting really distracting. But anyway, this is a Bravo Ragazzo. This is a was this an Italian Pilsner? Italian style Pilsner.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, clocking Pilsner in at 5.2%. And when I went there to pick it up, I believe they were using some English hops. So this is a little on the earthy side as far as the beers go. He's also still, so definitely not a Belgian. Yeah, that's a good point. But really good beer, nice, and I know it's in the completely wrong glass, but like crystal clear. I mean,
yeah,
you can see my face through it. But crystal clear, nice and light. I had this and another beer by the pool the other day. So perfect beers to have right by the pool. So what about you, Denny? What's in your glass and how are you doing this evening?
Well, let me talk about my glass first. I'm drinking some Iron Horse Brewing's Aloha Death. This is a coconut variant of the Irish Quilter's Death. Just has a nice, subtle, roasted, toasted coconut in the finish. Nothing too heavy, not artificial. Doesn't taste like you're drinking what copper tone sun tan lotion smells like. But yeah, it's good. Every so often this comes out. It's not around year-round. I think they are making it a year-round one, but I don't see it year-round. I see it every few months it comes out, and so I grab a 6-pack and enjoy it. So it's a dark ale, and we're having a dark ale later today. I thought I'd just stay with the dark trend, so that's why I went with that. Now I do have a fly line, a Payette Brewing's fly line Vienna Lager as well. If we get talking too much on our main topic, I might pop that open before we do our tasting notes segment later on in the show.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I'm drinking. How am I doing? Man, I'm a bit tired. If anyone in the States or world doesn't know, the Pacific Northwest is on fire. So, or actually the whole West Coast, I think. California, Northern California, Oregon, Nevada, they're all spewing smoke into my lungs right now. It's getting old. It's getting old really quick, but it is what it is, but it irritates my sinuses, again, last week you probably heard I was a little bit nasally, maybe not, but my nose gets plugged up with the smoke. Even inside, doesn't matter. It still weeps in, and and it blocks my sinuses, and I start to get kind of stuffed up, and I get nasally or stuffy. So that's why if I sound a little bit different today, that's the reason why. But I'm hoping that there's a storm coming through, like right around now. We've had some gusty winds, and I think there's going to be some lightning striking in the air in the same areas that are on fire. So we'll probably have more fires. I might wake up and it's be like London fog outside.
Matt Knight says the haze from the fire is here now.
Really, in New York,
It's New York,
all the
right?
way from over here. It's those jet streams, man. There's jetting that stuff over there. Well, I'm sorry, Matt. I apologize for all those California.
Well, Denny
fires.
inhaled it first, so that makes it okay.
I inhaled it and spit it back out. Now it's coming your way. But other than that, I'm doing good. I'm a little tired. I having trouble sleeping because of the stuffiness. I wake myself up like choking on my my tongue because I'm breathing through my mouth. Problems with as you get old and have sensitive sinuses, but that's okay. But yeah, we're doing good.
Matt said he didn't inhale. So Eric Gronley said he's getting Canada fire haze in Minnesota.
Okay. So yeah, Canada. Yeah, we'll get Canada because of the way the jet streams work here in our area. We get a lot of stuff from north that comes down outside of the coastline and then down around Lower California and into Nevada and then back up to us. So we'll get this jet stream that kind of like whirlpools right into our area. So yeah, Canada likes to soak us with their fires as well. And in fact, I think we were suffering from their fires before we had the California fires going. So
bunch of filthy hosers, though.
Yeah. All right, enough of that. Let's get this show started. But before we get too deep into the content, I always want to let anyone new listening to this show know what Tap the Craft podcast is all about. We are an educational podcast. We focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to let you, our listeners, know about things that help you along in your craft beer journeys and adventures. And you're listening to episode 183. We are recording a week earlier than normal on Monday, July 19th, 2021. In fact, just 1 week after we recorded the last episode. And in this episode, we are going to discuss the history of Three Floyds Brewing. Now, you must ask yourself, why in the world are you talking about Three Floyds Brewing? Well, Three Floyds Brewing has been around for quite a while, 25 years to be exact, and they have made quite a name for themselves, at least for the most part in the Midwest, but you hear their name on all the coasts and maybe even around the world. And we're going to talk about why their name is out there, being popular and everything. But the reason why we're talking about this tonight is because, again, we've been showcasing and doing tasting notes from beers that one of our listeners, William Schlemmer, had sent both Chris and I. So we each had the same beers. And he really treated us to a very nice, special, limited beer from Three Floyds. And that's the Three Floyds. It's Wuckfinter. Wuckfinter. But I think it's like a V sound in German. But basically, it's the F Winter. And this is a barrel-aged stout brewed with some lactose. And this is one of only 200, I think I wrote in the notes, 202 bottles. Chris and I each have one of those. We have two of the 202, and William was kind enough to send that to us, and we're going to do a tasting note segment on that. So that's what brought on showcasing Three Floyds Brewing tonight. And of course, you can count on Chris and I having some great beer conversation along the way. And before we get started that more conversation, Chris and I just want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. This episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, William Schlemmer, and Amanda and Kevin Argar. I don't know why I have so much trouble saying that.
Gower.
Who are our virtual producers. And Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, and Kirk Tabor, who want to buy us a virtual beer. If you enjoy the content that we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your hosts or buying us a virtual beer or even being a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. And we don't really have any feedback because we just released a show a couple of days ago, so we haven't had a lot of interaction. So we won't have any listener questions or voicemail or anything like that. But if you do want to leave a voicemail, we really encourage our listeners to pick up that phone, dial 208 536 3359 or 208-53 oddly, and just leave us a voicemail, a beer review, a little tasting notes of a beer you're drinking, like Matt Knight did last episode, or some some questions you want us to ask or answer, or just a little bit about what you enjoy about the show or dislike about the show. Hey, we love hearing from you and letting our listeners hear from you as well. And if you don't want to leave a voicemail, you can send your correspondence either through snail mail. No, not snail mail.
Not snail mail.
That's writing me. You can write me a letter. In fact, we had Jeff Seiler wrote me this nice card. I have this right here on my desk because I love getting correspondence from our listeners. So if you do, send me an email at tapthecraft@gmail.com, and I'll send you my address to send me some snail mail. And that could be just a card, a letter, or a beer, like William Schlimmer did. Or on Twitter and Instagram at tapthecraft. And of course, visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/tapthecraft. But right now we're doing this show live on Facebook, and we try to do that every time we record on the Monday before the show releases. So if you feel like it, jump on Facebook and watch us and see me make a fool of myself on video if you want to see that in person. And we do have a website, Tap the Craft Podcast. Website is tapthecraft.com. Okay, Chris, now let's get this conversation started, because now it's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
So remember, guys, if you want us to read your beer check-ins, this one's a little different this week because, like Denny said, we're doing it about a week early. So if you want us to read your check-ins, make sure you are following me on Untapped at MCK1345. And the first beer that we're going to talk about is going to be, there's a long list, so I got to read the really good ones. So Matt Knight, we're going to start with you, buddy. Your Red Wing Red Ale by Rohrbach Brewing Company. He said he missed a check-in from last night. Oh, so this doesn't even count. Next one. No, I'm just kidding. Missed a check-in from last night. A nice standard textbook red ale while playing Psychonauts. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Let's see. Next on the list. Like I said, there's a lot of them, but we got to make sure we get some good ones in there. Now, this one doesn't have any ratings, but it's from the Gnarly Gnome, and it's a beer that I have in my fridge that I really want to drink soon. It's Astronaut Food, Blackberry and Raspberry by Urban Artifact. And he said, I found a can of this tucked away in the back of the fridge, and it's just as insane as I remember. Big fruit with a little harsh snap to it. Bold is the best way to describe it. Really, really wild stuff. Next on the list, one of my favorite beers from Corporate Ladder. My buddy Stephen Brown is drinking the Dessert Station Intangible by Corporate Ladder Brewing Company. He gave that a 5 cap rating for that beer, and I believe I did also. Let's see. John W.C. is drinking an I Can Teach Blue 2021 by Saucy Brewworks. He's drinking that at Burger King. I sure hope you are, buddy. I sure hope you are. Great blueberry aroma, good creamy vanilla with nice blueberry and raspberry. Then an interesting lemon finish. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Next on the list is going to be William Schlemmer is drinking in a Troubadour West Coast. It's K-U-S-T. by Brewery The Musketeers at Cafe Hollander. Very good black IPA. Smooth and rich. 4 cap rating on that one. Let's see. Who is next on the list? Jeff Seiler drinking a Mosaic AF by Southern Pines Brewing Company. Delicious hazy IPA, tropical and crushable. Solid 4 cap rating for that beer. I checked into a couple of things because I slacked off and didn't do it. Continuing his check-in streak, Mr. Chad Lamassa is drinking a Black Currant Red Raspberry by Charm City Meadworks. So this tastes more like wine, which according to the label is what they were going for. So Good job with that. The currant and raspberry flavors are there, and a cool bottle, 3.75 rating on that beer. Moving on up to Stephen Brown again is drinking a peach brandy barrel aged French toast by Angry Chair Brewing Company. I don't know.
That's too much.
That's a little over the top. He gave it 4 3/4 caps rating on that one. Followed by the apple brandy barrel aged French toast by Angry Chair. That one he gave a 5 cap rating to. So, Steven, I'd be curious enough to see what the quarter cap rating difference was in those beers. He must be doing a bottle share, because the next one he had was a beer by Hidden Springs called Eternal Nightmares, which he gave a 4.5 cap rating to. Art Warchek is drinking a Daisy Cutter Pale Ale by Half Acre Beer Company. Stovepipe Can Classic, 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Moving on up the list, JC is drinking a Process Control by Southern Grist Brewing Company. 4 cap rating for that one. And Mike Allen drinking a Cruise by Halfway Crooks Beer Company. 4 cap rating for that. Everybody's getting a little bit of everything. Stephen Brown, you're checking into all kinds of nonsense. You're definitely at a bottle share. Going on up the list, John WC again. You just hit great, or gate, G8. You just hit G8, gate, by Missing Mountain Brewing Company. Super sugary sweet pineapple with decent coconut. Almost way too sweet and medicinal, yet he still gave it a 4 cap rating. Mm-hmm. Which that is the end of my list with a little refresh. And Matt Knight is drinking a Barbarian Haze by Three Floyds Brewing Company.
Nice.
He gave it a 4 cap rating and wrote simply, "It's good." No, I'm sorry. Didn't even put the S. "It good" is what he wrote in there. And that's what everybody is drinking.
All right. Give me just 1 second. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to finish up work as you were doing that. I got a message that something had to do. That's okay. All right. Well, you know what? I really appreciate that Matt Knight decided to open up a Three Floyds beer just because we're talking about Three Floyds tonight. So that was really nice of him to do that. I hope he's really enjoying that. All right, Chris. Well, you know what? We busted through that first part of the show pretty quick. Now it is time for the Brew Buzz, and the Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And as I already mentioned, this week we will be discussing the history of Three Floyds Brewing, and along with 12 things that you should know about them. Why 12? Because I found an article that lists 12 things that you should know about Three Floyds. So why not share them? Seemed like interesting thing to talk about. So I did find information on Three Floyds. Not on their website, because they don't have much of anything about themselves on their website. At least I couldn't figure it out on their webpage, because I'd click on something and it didn't take me anywhere. So I had to go find interviews and stuff from other sources to get the nitty gritty of their history. So there's 3 articles that I pulled from. One is called "Strange Brew: The Story of Three Floyds' Success." This was found on the Indianapolis Monthly website, written by Douglas Wissing. The 12 things you should know about Three Floyds, found on VinePair website, written by Claire Goggin Civitz. And then Midwest Metal: In Closing Munster Brewpub, Three Floyds commits itself to growth as a regional producer, found on Good Beer Hunting website, written by Kate Bernat. And that's just kind of a article that I didn't go too deep in. I'll have the link on there. You can read it in detail. But it just talks about the change that they just did at the end of 2020 concerning their brew pub, and how they're focusing on being a regional producer and distributor. All right, so we'll start off with learning a little bit about the history of Three Floyds Brewing. So Three Floyds Brewing, it's located in Munster, Indiana, was founded by 3 members of the Floyd family, founded by brothers Nick and Simon Floyd, along with their father, Michael. Three Floyds opened in Hammond, Indiana in 1996. Their first beers were brewed on a system they describe as a Frankenstein. Located in an old brick building across from the fire department, the brewery produced its early batches in a rig that was basic to the point of
Rusticity.
rusticity. It's very rustic, I
Old.
think what they're trying to say. It
Simple.
combined a Canfills cola tank with wok burners and Swiss cheese fermenters salvaged from a scrapyard in Wisconsin. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
that sounds pretty Frankenstein to me.
that's definitely Frankenstein. So they didn't start off. I mean, again, this is 25 years ago, and I think a lot of these early brewers were starting. I mean, I say early now. 25 years is not as early as some of these other breweries, but still, 25 years is a long time. But they started off with what they could find, and obviously these guys were on a tight budget, and they had access to gear and equipment that they could transform into what they needed to survive and make their beer. So in 2000, they opened a larger manufacturing facility in Munster, Indiana. In 2005, they opened a brew pub in downtown Munster. And in December 2020, they permanently closed the brew pub to focus on regional production and distribution of their packaged products. And yes, the COVID pandemic and the shift in brewery business models did prompt this decision to close a relatively small brew pub. Now, in the article, again, you can read it in full if you want. I'll have a link to it. But pretty much that brew pub took a lot of people to manage it, and it only could handle 70 to 80 people inside. So, they made a decision that it was best to spend their resources and time doing other things than the brew pub. So it's kind of sad. I would have loved to have gone and visited that before they closed it down, but I guess I won't be visiting Three Floyds anytime soon. Okay, so the brewery, it has made a name for itself over the last 25 years with extreme beers that rarely use extreme ingredients. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and carry on and talk about how they got experience in craft brewing?
So I want to just read a quick comment from Eric Gronley. He said Todd Haig, who helped make Surly Brewing over in Minneapolis, he helped make what it is today, left for Three Floyds in 2016 or so. His beer he made, Surly's Todd the Axeman, is still such an amazing beer and an OG before all of the juicy haze craze.
Oh,
he is a legend. So that's what Eric said.
Thank you, Eric, for that input. Appreciate that.
So part of Nick Floyd's beer education came during his travels around Europe in the 1980s when he visited breweries in France, Belgium, and Germany. In the early 90s, there were brief brewing stints at the Weinkeller, a German-style brew pub in the suburb of Chicago, and the Florida Brewery in Auburndale, Florida, where he brewed on a 300-barrel system for the U.S. and Caribbean markets. In 1991, Nick studied at Chicago's Siebel Institute of Technology, America's oldest brewing school, to accredit his on-the-job experience. But long before he began his formal training, he enjoyed a head start. Quote, Nick started secretly brewing in high school, end quote, says Michael, who seems to not have been fooled.
Yeah. So I've heard, I listened to a lot of different interviews of a lot of people in the brewing industry and breweries that are coming up even now recently, even, within 5 or 10 years ago, I'm hearing more and more people, for whatever reasons, broke into brewing beer in high school or quickly into college based on, whatever reason. And so it's just interesting that he was one of the ones that for whatever reason decided to jump in and brew in high school. I mean, he had a passion early on.
Well, how many people do you ever hear this? Oh yeah, I got into home brewing when I was in high school.
Yeah. Normally it happens when you're helping your dad out, right? Or an uncle or some family member.
Right.
That's usually how it would start out.
I would think so. All right. Nick Floyd's creative spark, he says, comes from traveling and trying other people's beer. Not to mention his creative heroes, movie maker Stanley Kubrick, Dungeons and Dragons creator Gary Gygax, and Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Pick up a 6-pack of Three Floyds, and those influences leap off the bottles. Wrapped with quirky D&D meets mad cartoonist labels, they are visual magnets. They very much are. Names like Zombie Dust, Gumball Head, Laser Snake, and Dreadnought adorn beers that run the gamut from goofy, fuzzy cartoon characters to bloodied horror villains and steel-plated barbarians. You could picture Arnold Schwarzenegger playing in an 80s movie. All of them packing a punch of aggressive hops not expected from Midwestern brewers.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean beer fans aren't extremely aware of them. In fact, many are clamoring to find them since distribution is limited to a handful of states. Dark Lord, the brewery's cult-inspiring Russian Imperial Stout, sells out so quickly on the day it's released, it doesn't even ever make it to bars or bottle shops.
Yeah. And their distribution footprint is very small. It was just before 2020, I believe, it was like 8 states. And I think in 2020, they now added New Jersey and New York as well to their distribution. So, I mean, I guess they're slowly moving further out. But man, I have to rely on our great listeners sending us beer. And that's how I've gotten all my, everything I've had from Three Floyds has been provided to me, by listeners, which is great. I really appreciate that. Okay, so now that's the history behind Three Floyds Brewing. Now let's get into the, maybe some more obscure things. 12 things about Three Floyds Brewing that you should know. This is again taken from an article. So they had the luck to interview these guys and get all this little nitty gritty stuff we're going to talk about here. So I'll start it off with I'll do the first 3. I'll let you go do 3. We'll just go back, or yeah, 3, 3, 3.
Go for it. When you stop, I'm just going to take over.
Okay. All right. So Three Floyds is hard to come by. Three Floyds is located in a suburban town about 27 miles outside Chicago, and its beer is available in just 7 states. Okay, so it's 7 states. Now I think it's 9. I think, okay. Despite this, Three Floyds is the biggest or the largest brewery in the state of Indiana and one of the top craft breweries in the country. In 2018, it appeared on the Brewers Association list of top 50 craft brewing companies at number 39. When the most recent list was released in 2020, the brewery moved up to number 31, edging out Gordon Burske Brewing. And in August 2020, Three Floyds announced it would expand distribution to New York. So there you go. That's kind of what I just kind of mentioned. Here's the next one. It's been ranked the best brewery in the world 5 times. Each year, Rate Beer, which is a website, we've talked about Rate Beer on early shows, releases a list of the best breweries in the world as ranked by fans' reviews on its website. In 2007, 2009, 2010, 11, and 12, Three Floyds earned the top spot on that list. In 2008, it slipped to second place behind Destruis, a small Belgian brewer, also known for its extreme beer styles. In the years since, Three Floyds has regularly appeared on consumer lists. On Untappd, Three Floyds ranks in the top 20 regional breweries in the U.S., and its Zombie Dust Pale Ale stands as one of the top-rated beers on Beer Advocate at number 36 out of 250, with over 10,000 ratings. It's pretty safe to say people really like Three Floyds. So here's what's interesting. Again, I've talked about how the craft beer industry has changed. And even since this podcast has been going on 7 straight years now, every 2 weeks, in 7 years, the craft beer scene has changed drastically. And there's a lot more competition. There's a lot more breweries out there. There's a lot more beer being produced locally that is really good. So people don't need to just rely on a small handful of these superstar breweries to get good quality beer. So it's not surprising that they held this reign during a short period of time, and then from 2012 on, they haven't been named that because there's other breweries that have stepped in, and not to say that they're not producing great beer. It's just that in a smaller market where there wasn't that much competition, they were standouts for sure. But now that we've got 8,000 breweries out there, it's harder to be number one with that many breweries out there.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely one of those. It's almost like the We were talking about, what were we talking about? Like, oh crap, the word, like we talked about the beers. They were like, we were talking about Pliny the Elder and Pliny the Younger, and
Yeah, your cult beers.
that's what it was. That's definitely one of those one of those breweries that puts out some
Yeah.
good cult beers, especially
So
that Dark Lord.
yeah, so I haven't had Dark Lord yet. I do want to eventually. That's on my bucket list. I will also say that really, I haven't been let down by Three Floyds yet. Everything that I've had from them has been really good, and it wasn't overhyped. I mean, I've enjoyed all of them. You know, Gumball Head,
Yeah.
Zombie Dust. Zombie Dust lived up even with all the stuff we have. You know, now it's still a good solid beer. Alpha King.
Yeah.
I think those are the ones.
Well, according to Three Floyds' website, they're currently distributing in 18 states right now.
What? No, 18 they went.
According to their website right now.
Wow, so they really are focused on regional.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Maryland, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, Wisconsin, and Washington, D.C.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, they just expanded since December. So that article was written in December that said they were going to focus on regional. So even there, they increased it. They doubled it.
They done focused.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll even grow more, and I'll get it here in Boise, right?
One day. But then
One day.
the novelty will wear off really fast, and then
one day.
All
right. So let me see. I'll do one more and let you go, Chris. So why Indiana? Because it was cheap. When Three Floyds Brewing first opened in 1996, it operated out of an old auto garage. According to Nick Floyd, 5,000 square feet cost him $500 a month in rent in Indiana. That's why he opened the brewery in a small town 30 miles outside of Chicago.
God, I wish my place was that cheap. Jeez. Alan Kaspar said, "Howdy, fellas. Enjoying a wonderful Golden Monkey by Victory as I sit and enjoy some craft tapping." Yeah, I wish my space was that cheap. Let's just say that. Three Floyds beers have bite. Alpha King, the brewery's flagship beer, came to life as a homebrew concoction in Nick Floyd's basement. The best beers come out of your basement. The beer exemplifies the brewery's philosophy on brewing. Extreme without breaking the rules of the German beer law, which says beer can only be made with 4 standard ingredients. So while brewers only use hops, barley, water, and yeast to craft Alpha King, this American pale ale still features an over-the-top citrus snap hidden just behind the caramel malt flavors. According to Nick Floyd, when the beer first arrived in Chicago bars, guests would send it back because they thought it was too hoppy. I mean, I could see that. When was that? Back in 96? Did they specify? Either way. But Three Floyds beer is brewed in and with heavy metal. Well, heavy metal and fantasy themes weave through everything the brewery does, from the design on the bottles, which featured armored humanoids, crowned skulls, and other menacing scenes, each created by local artists credited on the brewery's website, to bring to brewing and even the events hosted at the brewery, the heavy metal influence is clear. Nick Floyd, along with longtime employee Barnaby Struve and brewmaster Chris Bogus, are heavy into the heavy metal scene. They listen to bands like Slayer and Black Sabbath while they brew, according to Bogus.
I can imagine just stirring that wort like...
I don't know. Slayer and Black Sabbath. I can see Slayer. I don't know if I would call Black Sabbath heavy metal. It's kind of on that edge. Maybe. But what do I know? The fermentation tanks at Three Floyds Brewing are like members of the team, and each gets its own name. Some of them were named for fantasy or sci-fi works like Blood Gorgon from the miniature war game Warhammer, 40,000, and Prometheus, inspired by the Ridley Scott movie. The tank named C5 even features an illustration of Conan the Barbarian's sword.
Hmm.
That was pretty cool.
Wow.
It's extremely collaborative, and since 2010, Three Floyds Brewing has collaborated with heavy metal bands to craft unique beers. The Creeper, a Doppelbock that came out in 2010, was brewed with the band Pelican to celebrate their 10th anniversary. Beers have also been crafted with help from Mastodon, Skeleton Witch, Exodus, and Amarath. Those are probably a little more heavy metal because I can't pronounce them. The connection to music is so strong for Three Floyds that it even worked with a record store in Chicago called Reckless Records.
All right. I'll do a little bit. I'll do a few here too.
Okay,
And let you get
go
back
ahead.
here. So Wizardry is behind Three Floyds' Wicked Brews. Alongside the bassassery of brewing extreme beers, regular Dungeons & Dragons games at Nick Floyd's house also help shape the brewery's style and ethos. Characters used in beer label designs, as well as names of beers, have a dungeon mastery ring to them. The Demon Knight grimacing on the Alpha King label, for example, or Barbarian Haze IPA, which has a hint of Conan the Barbarian to it. Nick Floyd even refers to himself as a Wizard Metal CEO. Translation: extremely geeky CEO. So Three Floyds also has a sweet side. While Three Floyds generally held to traditional brewing ingredients, the brewers broke the mold when they developed Dark Lord, a Russian imperial stout brewed with coffee, Mexican vanilla, and Indian sugar. Nick Floyd got the idea for the beer after hearing about a nearby brewery that repeatedly won awards for its barrel-aged brews. He knew he could do better according to Three Floyds lore, and well, he was right. I wonder what that brewery was.
Jeremy Garrison stopping in to say hi. He's at Loose Screw, Denny.
Oh, nice.
Having a Huey Hog, New England Hazy IPA.
All right, cheers, Jeremy. Thanks for dropping in. Enjoy the beer out there in the new
With
the
your
new home of
namesake.
Loose Screw Brewing.
Yeah, with your namesake, huh?
Yeah, it's spelled just a little bit different.
I mean, it's spelled incorrectly. If they spelled it like yours,
That's
it would
right.
be correct.
That's right. All right, and one last one for me here. Every Dark Lord has its day. After it was first brewed in 2002, Dark Lord grew in popularity immediately. By 2004, the brewery was hosting an event at the beer's release date, and fans from all over the country traveled to the brewery to get their own bottle. Dark Lord Day evolved into a festival that brought together thousands of beer fans with a lineup of heavy metal bands and breweries across the country, such as Burial Beer, Half Acre Beer, and True Brewing. The event grew so large that in 2011, Three Floyds capped the number of tickets sold at 6,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. There's magic powder in zombie dust, or is those Jesus. You said, hey, I'm going to get on here and make a fool out of myself. And now look what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's magic powder in zombie dust, or is those Citra hops? Okay, yeah, I'm just reading it. I'm going for that.
That's what it says. Are those Citra hops? Yeah.
Or is those Citra hops? Okay, I'm stuck on that one. I probably won't be able to sleep tonight. When it first arrived in 2010, Zombie Dust offered something beer geeks weren't entirely familiar with yet: a big Citra hop sting. The beer, a single hop pale ale that featured both the fruity and bitter qualities of Citra, took advantage of a brand new hop. Citra only became commercially available to breweries in 2007, and prior to Zombie Dust, no one had really used it to its full potential. Three Floyds knew what to do. Like it often does, Three Floyds drew out the bitter notes of the hop, but cut the intensity with the fruity notes as well. Add to that a collaboration with comic book pros, and the beer caught the attention of not only beer geeks, but comic geeks too. This only added to the beer's popularity, inspiring all geeks to hunt Zombie Dust down whenever they could find it. Yeah, I was one of those people.
Yeah. So of course I couldn't get Three Floyds back in 2010, but I was also a huge fan of the Citra hop when it came out on the scene, and I just drank everything with Citra. I still love Citra. Even, I mean, still, if I see a beer that has Citra in it, I know I'm going to enjoy it because has some great flavor. So yeah, and Zombie Dust definitely, it's a tasty beer.
Yeah, you finally did get to have one of those, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I've got the can right there.
Three Floyds distills spirits too. An expansion that began in 2014 included a 5-story distillery that would allow Three Floyds to take the long awaited step of making whiskey. For years, Nick Floyd had wanted to distill the grains of Three Floyds beers, including Dark Lord. By 2016, longtime brewer Abby Titcomb was training to become the head distiller. When the distillery officially opened in June of 2019, it was serving up not normal spirits, including gin, rum, and aquavit. The lineup also included a whiskey not yet aged in barrels. Eventually, the aged versions of that whiskey, which is aged 17 months in barrels, would be released to fans as well. Among the other not normal offerings, Boost Head Aquavit combines distilled grains with a bit of spice, caraway seeds, dill, fennel, and cinnamon, and Witchvich gin puts a twist on the traditionally juniper spirit with the addition of ginger and peppercorn. Now, I'm
That
not like a big gin person, but that sounds pretty
uh,
good.
yeah, I'm a huge gin person, and yes, the ginger and peppercorn does sound very intriguing to me. The caraway, dill, fennel, and cinnamon, not so much. I mean, not that I have a problem with those spices, but I just yeah, it doesn't quite hold my interest as much as the juniper and and ginger
Mm-hmm.
and peppercorn. I mean, the more juniper in a gin, the happier I am. I love big, bold juniper flavor. So yeah, I think this is fascinating that they decided to now. Here's something. I mean, it says that he wanted to use the grains from the Three Floyds beers to help produce this, this distilled spirits. But I mean, I'm curious on how that works because I know that good quality distilled spirits, you have to start off with a big amount of of grain bill, or to get those sugars out, and then
Mm-hmm.
you cut a lot, right? And if you make a really good quality spirit, you end up only with like 30% of what you started with in fluid and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like those spent grains, I wouldn't see how they would give out as what you need to be able to to produce that alcohol. So it's interesting. I need to read up on how they do that. If they just use some of those grains in along with other grains as well. I mean, I think they'd have to some other material to get that sugar content. Okay,
Who
go.
knows?
You can go ahead and finish the last one.
Okay. Three Floyds has a comic book. Friends of the brewery, Brian Azzarello, happens to be a veteran comic book writer. He created the noir style comic 100 Bullets and wrote a run of Wonder Woman during his time in the comics world. In 2018, he teamed up with Nick Floyd and Simon Bisley, a British illustrator with an appropriately metal style, to create a comic book inspired by Three Floyds beers. The story follows an Indiana brewer, sound familiar, who transforms into Alpha King in an alternate reality and takes on a villain by the name of Rice King. That's good. The tongue-in-cheek humor pits the hero against a warlord who represents big macro breweries. They use a lot of rice in their beers. It's accompanied by pretty gory illustrations, and there may be even a follow-up comic with a new writer.
Mm, yeah, yeah. That I need to find this comic book. For one thing, I do appreciate the artwork of. Uh, oh, he. I was thinking he was the artist, Azzarello, but maybe he was a writer. But I thought he did artwork. Never mind. I know I've heard the name Brian Azzarello before. Might have some of his stuff, but I was thinking he might be the writer. But I thought he was the artist. But yeah, I have to try to see if I can find a Three Floyds comic book.
I wonder if it's an actually like an actual tangible paper comic book or if it's digital.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll search it out and find it for ourselves. I can be a bit of a geek myself. All right. Well, that is what I had for the history of Three Floyds and some interesting information about them. I didn't want to get too long. We did speak quite quite a long time getting to know this brewery. I would love to hear some of your experiences out there. That if you have some stories of visiting Three Floyds or of a beer or anything that you'd like to share with us, send us a voicemail, send us an email, or tweet us, whatever you want. I'd love to hear some feedback, get that into the show. Because Three Floyds has been around for a long time. And I'm sure there's lots of listeners out there that have a story to tell.
True.
All right, Chris. So before we get to this live tasting notes, I got to go, make some room for this beer.
Thank you for holding. We'll be right back.
So do you have the nice music to play for everyone, or?
Sure. I could totally pull something up real quick.
I apologize to all the Facebook Live people that I drank a lot of water. I drank some fuzz soup before I came up, and it's all and 2 beers, and it's all ready to come back out now. So,
I mean that's only fair. So
yeah. I'm an old man, small bladder.
So old man, small bladder. All right. Well, then go ahead and go. Hopefully this isn't too loud. And we're back.
I like that music. That's some nice music.
We had one of the Sit Mean Sit locations in Chicago sent me a little flash drive with a few dozen like instrumental songs that they use for videos and stuff. So
okay.
I plugged it in today. I was like, oh, I wonder what's on it because I haven't got the chance to listen to it yet.
Well, I like that one. That was nice. I was jamming out.
Yeah, it gave me a little bit of everything. Actually, the new opening video that I'll have for us has some new stuff in it too.
Okay, good. All right, you ready to get this beer tasting going?
I am.
All right, everyone. We're back. I think we're back. Make sure everything's still going.
I mean, I'm still
Test. Oh yeah, we're back. Okay. Yeah, we're back and we're ready to do a live tasting notes segment. And as I already mentioned, this tasting notes segment is going to be a Three Floyds Brewing beer, and this is called Wuckfinter, a barrel-aged stout brewed with lactose. Now, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we can show our beer. Of course, I got to be able to see my
I always
camera
love
here.
their cap. Their cap is always really cool. I do like that.
But yeah, this is so you can see it's WCKFINTER. Basically, winter sucks. Basically,
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
that's one way to look at it. And and also William, when he told us he was sending these beers, he said, "Hey, I've got a variety of beers I'm sending you, but here's one special one. I'm going to send an email that describes what this beer is all about to you guys in a separate email." So he did. So I wanted to read how they described this beer. So in late 2019, a small collection of Ray's employees, and Ray's is a Ray's Wine and Spirits, and I think it's a
Here on the bottle.
yeah, and I don't know if it's just like a liquor store or if it's a spot that makes wine and spirits. I don't know. Willie can fill us in on the details on that. But they delivered a spent Ray's proprietary Joseph Magnus bourbon barrel to Munster, Indiana, home of Three Floyds Brewing Company. Head brewer Chris Bogus and his team chose to fill the barrel with their Imperial Milk Stout and laid the barrel down for the following year. What resulted is liquid gold with a bouquet of tantalizing barrel character. When this Wuckfinter stout hits your tongue, you experience just enough sweetness from the lactose sugar to soften the whiskey influence, providing a balanced 11.1% ABV gem that becomes more intriguing after each sip. Only 202 bottles, and these bottles are 500 milliliters. These are awesome little stubby
bottles.
Stubby bottles. I love this bottle. It's going to be a great addition to my bottle collection. Were produced 202, and Chris and I each have one.
Yeah, that means there's only 200 other ones out there for the rest of you guys.
There's only 200 other bottles out there that people are going to be able to enjoy. So I feel so lucky and so, I don't know. It makes me feel good that William went above and beyond to allow us to have a special beer, and he knows that I love winter warmers, and I think this is kind of a winter warmer type style. Maybe we'll see. We'll find out. All right, Chris. So I heard you already opened yours, huh?
I did. Yeah, I got really antsy. This guys, this one's clocking in at 11.1%. If you look at it on Untapped, it's 4.14 rating kind of overall, and it says on the side of the bottle, forged in an unholy union of howling wind and the darkest night, brought onto Tosa, a curse that cannot be broken. It has no name, but you can hear the townsfolk worriedly whisper, Wuckfinter.
Well, I'm smelling
it smells really good.
Yeah. It smells really good. All right, so we're taking hits off of the little small thing. Let's pour this into a glass. Okay, what's nice is it's not super thick like motor oil, which is good, but it does have a very, very dark chocolate head on it. Wow, I almost filled this. I almost got the whole bottle. Well, I got the whole bottle into my B cup.
I think you probably would have. That head is
you got a good head.
Super chocolatey.
Yeah. I wish I would have poured mine more aggressively like you did, because I would love to see that head. But yeah, the head is milk chocolate brown, I mean, I love having that dark head like that.
And it's
And
bubbling fast too.
yeah, the beer is dark. You cannot see through it. There's no light that comes through it, but it's not thick and heavy like you would
Mm-mm.
expect from other type of heavy stouts.
The head's okay. So the head's pretty much gone on mine now.
You can see mine's gone completely, but I poured mine pretty light. So you have a little bit of chocolate hinting in there with the whiskey settling right
Mm-hmm.
on top of that chocolate. So it's like a chocolate undertones with a whiskey um, character to it as well.
My glass is too full to actually take a really good smell out of it. So
Yeah, I know. I'm
that's
afraid
just
to.
I
I'm
got it.
afraid I'm going to spill. I don't want to
I
waste a
got it.
drop of this
I
thing.
got it in my beard.
Me too. Oh wait, I don't have a beard anymore.
Hmm.
Okay, let's take a sip. I'm dying to try this thing. Mm. So the mouthfeel is actually it's deceiving because it
Like
actually feels
medium.
thicker than it looks when I poured it in. When I poured it in, it looked like it was going to be thinner, but wow, the mouthfeel, that lactose sugar definitely adds some viscosity to it. Not motor oil like, but definitely more than I was expecting. Wow, this is a very unique flavored imperial milk stout.
So this one goes really. It goes a little on the sweet side. At least for me, it goes a little on the sweet side, and then you get kind of that whiskey flavor, that
Mm-hmm.
that spirit, and then
Mm-hmm.
you get the roastiness from the stout at the end.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Right up front, I do get a sense of sweetness right up front, but you definitely get that sweetness. It carries in that sweetness carries into that whiskey spirits, which I think my favorite distills like I'd rather have a whiskey like a rye whiskey or a whiskey. Oh, excuse me, a whiskey barreled beer versus a bourbon barrel because I just love the flavors that whiskey complements the the flavor of the stouts and stuff. And again, like you said, Chris, as it goes to the end, the finish, you start to get some of those roasty notes and the chocolate character
Mm-hmm.
uh, in in the in the finish in the back of your tongue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
it's almost like a just like cocoa roasted, but like almost like a zero zero like all cocoa chocolate.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's very cocoa nib ish or cocoa powderish. You're right. You get that. It's not like milk chocolate or dark chocolate. It's like powdered cocoa. You're right. It's got that almost like if I was taking a cocoa bean and making it into a covering on top of like a coffee drink or something. Right. It's like it kind of has that type of flavor to it. Well, this is a great beer. I'm really enjoying this, and it's way heavier than I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
But it's not boozy. It's 11.1%. It's got lactose in it, and I was afraid it was going to be a bit on the sweet side where I'm going to be like boozed out. But I'm not getting boozed out. Are you getting boozed out?
No, I mean it's there for you know a second or two. And
Mm-hmm.
what I've been finding too is that when you first taste it, you get that sweetness, the chocolate. Then it goes into that whiskey almost, that distilled spirit. Then it
Mm-hmm.
goes roasty. And as I'm just letting kind of my palate clear off, I almost get like milk chocolate now.
Maybe some milk chocolate. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting
Or like a lighter dark chocolate.
maybe some milk. Yeah, maybe you're right. Definitely some. It's definitely in the maybe even the hot cocoa mix
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Well, I mean, with a name like Wuckfinter, I mean, it's got to be It's got to be like hot cocoa kind of stuff.
I do love the bottle.
Yeah, I do too.
I love the fact that I don't know what this thing is that's walking down the street, but it seems like it's ominous, right?
Yeah. They got Ray's wine and spirits there, and then Three Floyds logo.
Yeah.
Barrel aged stout brewed with lactose.
I'll tell you what, I'm thoroughly enjoying this, but this is a beer you have to sip. This is not one to guzzle.
Yeah, you definitely
Don't shotgun this
take your time
thing.
with
This is a beer that
them. Challenge accepted.
this is a beer that in reality, maybe we should have split it half and half with a friend with us. We should have had a friend with us and shared it because this is a big beer.
Well, I'm no quitter.
I'm not going to quit. No. I'm going to enjoy this thing. But I appreciate the fact, Chris, that you and I get to experience this at the same time together while we're recording.
Mm-hmm.
I really do appreciate that. And this is a beer that I would never in a million years would have thought I would have an opportunity to get a hold of. And we did. So it was very, very nice.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the fact. Like I said, I think we've said that pretty much every episode. The fact that you and I can just get the chance to drink the exact same beers and still be so far away.
Yeah. Wow, I'm it's hard for me to put a tag on this beer as far as a rating. I'm trying to for one thing, it is very unique for the style. Milk stout is not my favorite style. Imperial milk stout scares the hell out of me. Barrel aged imperial milk stout scares me. But I'll tell you what, this beer really works. And if I were to follow through on my rating style, where I rate it by style, and of the best beers in the style that I've had, I'd have to rate this as one of the best imperial milk stouts I've ever had. And I'm gonna have to hold off on my rating. It's high. I don't know. I don't want to go right off to 5 because that's going over the top. I want to hold off and enjoy this a little bit and come up with a rating. But this beer is for me at least a 4.5, and it could move up even higher as we go. What about you, Chris? How is this sitting on with you?
So we'll see how it kind of goes too. I'm definitely sitting at 4.25, if not higher right now. I'm really curious to see how it progresses as it starts to warm up too.
So I took mine out early. So mine's right at the perfect temperature, I think. It's probably right around 53 degrees.
That's pretty specific, Denny.
I have a pretty calibrated mouth that can taste temperature.
That's why we like you, I guess.
Yeah, so I think this is right at the temperature you want to drink it. And even as it warms up, some of the sweetness and the whiskey, I mean, what I appreciate about this is I don't get any tannin character. And that would have turned me off right away if I would have got barrel tannin character out of it, because they used one barrel for this beer, right?
Yeah.
They had one whiskey barrel. Actually, it was a bourbon. Actually, you know what? They said it was a bourbon barrel, but this is not bourbon flavoring.
Well, it just says barrel aged on the outside of the bottle.
Yeah, but in the note it said the proprietary Joseph Magnus bourbon barrel. So they used a bourbon barrel, but this does not taste like bourbon. It tastes like a whiskey.
They did a hell of a job blending it.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. But they only made, again, 500 milliliters, 202 bottles. So how does that add up to one barrel? 33
gallons.
30. Is that one barrel or is it more than one barrel? Because they must have blended this with something else, right?
Well,
because there's no tannin character, which is fantastic. I'll tell you what, my pet peeve is when I get tannin sourness in my in my barrel aged beers, I just get turned off right away. I don't get that here.
Isn't it a barrel? Is it 30 gallons or is it 30? How we'll call it 30
It's
gallons.
33.
Is it 33?
Yeah.
So if that was a case, then that would be almost 125,000 milliliters.
Is that
divided
right?
by, and this is a 500 milliliter bottle.
500 milliliter, yeah.
Yeah, well, 125,000 divided by 500.
202. There's 202 bottles.
So it brings up 250. So you're gonna lose some.
Yeah, you'll lose some. So maybe it is just from a single non-blended, or maybe they put half of it in the barrel and half of it not. I can't imagine them doing this beer without blending, because this is really good. If they did this all in one barrel without doing any blending, it's superb. Because I haven't tasted very many beers that come out of a single barrel with no blending that don't have some kind of flaw in them. All right, well, I could carry on for hours talking about this beer, but this is a great beer. I'm hoping that maybe this will be something that comes back again. And if it does, and if it comes back in bigger quantities, I recommend all of our listeners go and try to find a bottle if you can, because this is a fantastic beer. Not too sweet, not too much barrel character, actually, there's almost no barrel as far as woodiness to it, which I appreciate. No tannins.
Mm-hmm.
The whiskey or bourbon, it says bourbon, but I'm not getting vanilla character out of this. I'm getting whiskey character. It is not over the top, not too sweet, has a nice roastiness and what was that? Roastiness and something else. I lost my train of thought. Obviously, this 11.1 is starting to affect me. Maybe it's the other two beers. But yeah, this is a great beer. So go out and get it. Thank you, William. We really appreciate it. All right, Chris, let's move on. While we sip, we're gonna continue sipping this beer as we finish the show. Don't worry, it will not go to waste. But let's talk about our new and noteworthy beers. Did you have anything new and noteworthy in the last week that you'd like to talk about?
I did. So Sunday was a lovely just beer exploration day for me. On Saturday after I got off, actually Friday after I had a big gap in between appointments, and I saw that Barriehaus, the folks who put out this beer with the German Shepherd on it, also put out a beer called Good Boy, BOI. Okay, so in their Crispy Boys, or what do they call it? Their Crispy Boy Summer Series. So this German Shepherd was can 1 of 3. I'm not going to point it out, but it was can 1 of 3. And there was another one just called Good Boy D.O.G, which was a Czech style Pilsner.
Okay.
And I saw it pop up on Facebook, and they were like, "Oh, we're releasing this beer today." And I went, "Look, it's dog related. Let's go get it just for the hell of it." Had a cool conversation with the lady working behind the bar, Katie. She was really helpful and told me all about the beers. And sadly, I've forgotten. But guys, if you want to know anything about Barriehaus, you can check out our interview with June Bay, one of the owners of Barriehaus, what we recorded with the Fermented Reality Beer Cast. But they are a lager only brewery. And man, lager beers right now, especially in Florida, have been absolutely just hitting the spot.
Nice.
So this Good Boy D.O.G, I gave it a 4 cap rating. The details, sadly, are not right here at the tip of my tongue. So, but I gave it a 4 cap rating. Just really enjoyable sitting out by the pool. Oh, actually, I had a second one of these after we planted 2 mango trees yesterday, which was, damn, it was hot yesterday. And the second beer that I had was from Magnanimous Brewing, which lovingly enough, is 5 minutes down the road from Barriehaus.
Sweet. Nice.
Magnanimous, we've talked about them before a little bit, whether it's here or whether it's on the Fermented Reality Beer Cast. Their Juice Lord, which was a Imperial IPA. Either way, I gave it 4.25 caps for this beer. Took the first, I've never had this one before, cracked it open, took a swig of it, and it was super just orange and mango, just tropical, just almost a little sweet. And then the hops kicked in, and I gave it 4.25. Granted, delicious beer. The only thing that got me was after about half the can, I started getting some really good hop burn.
Oh no.
Which, man, those first couple of sips were just heaven. But then I started getting that hop burn, and it was kind of,
So it came when it started warming up. It started producing.
Yeah. But still, I still went and opened a second can, so I was good.
So it wasn't that bad then.
No, it wasn't something. No, and it's one of those beers. I remember when I first started seeing it pop up on their social media and stuff. You'd go in there and get it, and you'd go to try to get it, and it was gone, and they'd sell out of it pretty quickly. So whether the demand for it has slowed down or I just got lucky, because I went in there to pick up some beers that I ordered on the Ozner app, OZNR.
Is that something, Ozner?
Yeah, Ozner's pretty cool. I don't even know
So
if
now
I'm
you have
pronouncing
another
it right.
app that you're ordering beers on.
No, it's not. So it's not like Tavor.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm gonna call it Ozner just to keep it simple. But when Angry Chair, or whether Cigar City or Magnanimous or local breweries around Hidden Springs, when they have a release coming up, I think this all came about just because of COVID. They were like, hey, you know what? We don't want people waiting in line anymore.
Yeah.
We want people to social distance. So what happens is I get a notification, hey, this offer is going live here in 5 minutes or a half hour or whatever it is. And as soon as it goes live, if you get in there and get your stuff and hit submit, okay, you can come pick up your beer starting on this date from this time to this date at this time. And you just walk in and go get your stuff.
Okay. I like that. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So those were my two beers, the Magnanimous Brewing Juice Lord and the Barriehaus Beer Company Good Boy, D.O.G. And Denny, what about you? What was on your new and noteworthy list this week?
So I have two new noteworthy beers. I've drank a lot of beers, but only two that I want to talk about noteworthy. First off, I've talked about this brewery and this beer in previous years a few times. It's Fremont Brewing. They're out of Seattle, Washington. It's their Rusty Nail 2021 version. And this is a double imperial stout. And it's a yearly release that is always fantastic. Now, I want to talk. This is a beer that every year that I have it, it's fantastic. It's never let me down. But there's another beer that never or rarely lets me down, and that's the Black Butte Imperial Anniversary beer. And this year's version came out already. I saw that Tom Byrne, our listener here in the local area, had checked into it. And I was like, hey, is that already out? They're already releasing that this year? He says, yeah, I got it at the co-op. So I went to the co-op the next day, and I picked up a 4-pack of this year's version of the Black Butte Anniversary Ale. This one is made with maple and maple syrup, and I've had very bad luck with beers that are made with maple syrup. So I tend to not get those beers. But because this is a beer that I love year in and year out, I decided to go ahead and get it.
Yep.
This is one of the few years that disappointed me. But I have a 4-pack. I drank one fresh, and I gave it a low rating. I might have even given it below. I don't remember if I gave it below 3 or not. It is not a good beer to drink fresh. It's too harsh. The flavor is just not there. I'm hoping that if I give it a year and I drink it this time next year, that it'll mature and become a better beer. I gave one of them to my buddy Alex Fuchs, who came into town this week, and we had he's the one that brought me this Fremont Rusty Nail. He was here in town and saw I hadn't had it yet. Bought a bottle. and we drank it on Saturday night. Five cap rating for this beer for Fremont Brewing's Rusty Nail
I'm so
2021.
excited. I have that in
Yeah.
my fridge.
You have it in the fridge?
I do.
This beer, you can't drink it alone. It is a big beer.
Don't challenge
You
me.
can. You just won't remember it. I want you to remember it and enjoy it. This beer is always fantastic, and this year's version, fresh, incredible. It's really good. So what I wrote here is thank you to my friend Alex Fuchs for bringing this beer to share. Absolutely amazing beer. So smooth, thick, and rich. Never disappoints. 5 cap rating. If you are a visitor of Tavour and you can see these beers come up on Tavour and pay the price for them, they're worth it.
That's the question. Do you know what the bottle cost?
The bottle typically costs $20
for Rusty Nail.
I didn't buy this year, so I don't know. What did you pay for it, Chris?
I don't want to talk about it.
Maybe it's 30. It might be $30, but I think for previous years I might. You know what? Maybe it might be $28 local, like here in Boise area. But I know at one point you had a price for like 36 or something like that, right?
I want to say 36. I paid like 32 or 33 for it.
Yeah. So I think here we can get it for. I hope, Alex. I mean, I think $27, $28. Prices have gone up since the pandemic. So the beer prices aren't the same as they were before. It might be $20 some. I have.
So if you can find it at your local Total Wine and More, they list it for $22.99.
Okay. So I think that's closer to what it is. It's like $22 to $25 is probably what I think. $25 is probably the price that we pay here.
Now I'm curious to know what I paid for it. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to enjoy it.
No, you're going to enjoy it. It will not disappoint. This beer, year in and year out, is always good. This and the Last Nail is another bottle that's fantastic. Both those beers are great. The Last Nail might be the one I paid more for. I can't remember prices, but I know they are a bit steep. But fantastic beer. So that was my big beer 5 cap rating. And then, again, my buddy Alex Fuchs was in town. We spent Friday night together, and we spent Saturday together visiting breweries. I finally made it to a brewery that opened a couple years ago in Nampa, Idaho, which is about 14 miles from where I'm at. It's not, when I say 14 miles, it doesn't feel like it's that far away because it's only 14 miles. But it takes a good 35 minutes to get out there, right? It's always fighting traffic, and I just don't, if I go there, it has to be a weekend. And because Alex was in town and we wanted to go visit a brewery we haven't been to, and he hadn't been there either, that we decided to go make the trek out there, and we went to visit 2C Family Brewing in Nampa. And they have a nice little spot in downtown 11th Street or 1st Street, downtown Nampa. Love the venue, very nice venue. They had probably 10 beers on tap. And what I appreciated about their tap list, very diverse. And there was only one IPA on it. It was a session IPA. So if you, in this day and age, if you see that there's no IPAs except for a session IPA on there, and everything else is either a lager or a golden ale or a Belgian quad barrel aged or a Belgian triple barrel aged, I mean, it had all these different styles. And the beer of the, I had a flight of 4, and then I had a pint of beer. And the one that I had a pint of was a taste I had of Sarah's. So keep in mind, my wife doesn't like lagers at all. She wants hoppy, piney IPAs, and even some hazy IPAs she's okay. Or she wants big, dark stouts. That's what she likes. If it's anything malty, she doesn't want it. She wants those two things. And they didn't have a stout or a IPA. They had a session IPA, and she wasn't into it. So she got the Doppelbock. And so she got a pint of that, and I tasted it. I'm like, and she's like, "Oh, this is really good." I said, "Honey, you know it's a lager, right? You don't like lagers." "No, I like this lager," she said. So I took a sip of it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is a good Doppelbock." So my second beer is from 2C Family Brewing, the
Got that?
Pontificator There, I said it.
Pontificator.
Doppelbock. Yeah. And what I wrote on this is a really good Doppelbock caramel malt with not too much sweetness. That's the key, right? This is like an 8+% beer, and when you have Doppelbocks, the hardest thing about Doppelbocks is the fact that when they raise that alcohol level, the sweetness increases and that booziness is like strong. And this did not have that booziness. 8% beer, no booziness, nice caramel, malty flavor in there. Easy drinking. 4.25 cap rating in my book. So really enjoyed that one. And I actually got my wife to drink a lager. And that's even more amazing is that I got that to happen.
So I don't believe I have that Rusty Nail. I have Brew 5000.
Oh, wow. I don't have that one.
So
okay.
I got the
so
Brew
that's
5000.
their anniversary. That's like one of their anniversaries. It's not a yearly anniversary, but that's the barrel.
The barrel aged barley wine.
Yeah. And those are expensive. So I didn't get a chance to get that. That didn't actually come here as far as I know, it didn't come to Boise. So you got lucky. You got that one. And you probably paid $36 for it.
$27.99.
Oh, nice. So you don't have a Rusty Nail?
So I got a Rusty Nail last year.
Okay.
I had that one. I have that one. I have the Brew 5000, and then I have a 2016 barrel aged Dark Star that I have in the fridge too.
No, the Dark Stars are fantastic.
Oh, I love Dark Star.
I love the
regular one.
Well, yeah, the regular one's great, but the the special ones are really good too. It's the bee bombs that you have to be hit or miss, and this year's bee bombs really good. And then I think I mentioned in one of the shows that my wife got me a one that was a few years old, and it was still really good too.
Yeah, I'm curious about this one because this is 2016, so it's 5 years old. So,
well, drink it. Don't let it sit too much longer.
I gotta share it with somebody.
Well, come on to Boise. Bring it with you. I'll drink it with you. All right, Chris. Guess what? We're getting long in the tooth. Let's get this show wrapped up. Before we do that, we always want to give a chance to give a toast out to someone special. So who would you like to give a toast out tonight?
Cheers. No. So I'd love to raise my glass to want to raise our glass to our staff at work right now. We are not only super busy, which is a blessing and a curse all at the same time, but we definitely have some very difficult dogs right now too.
Oh, wow.
This is very welcome right now. Plus we're trying to hire people, so
you're still hiring people.
Yeah, well, nobody wants to work, so
that's true.
But yeah, so just raise our glass to our staff. They've been busting their ass and putting in some very long hours. Myself, Megan, Tina included, just working stupid long hours, and we're going to turn around and do it again tomorrow. So
okay,
cheers to everybody there at Sit Mean Sit Tampa.
Yeah, cheers.
And Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to?
All right, first I'll do our Patreon toast. That Patreon toast goes to Mr. Tom Byrne. I mentioned him earlier. One of our local listeners here in the Boise area. I need to get together with Tom now that COVID is over. I need to get together, drink some beer, try his barley wine. Tom, barley wine, remember barley wine,
Tom.
Yes,
barley
don't forget. I have to give him one of my just shoots the ages, bottles of beer that I'm going to send you as well, Chris. But yeah, cheers to you, Tom. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter. We really appreciate it. And of course, I love drinking with you. So let's go out and drink. And of course, my buddy Alex Fuchs, I already mentioned him, came into town unexpectedly, was here for a week. He was busy with work, but we did get to spend Friday night together and Saturday, almost the entire day and evening together, drinking beer. Not only did we go out and visit 2C Family Brewing, we went to the Mother Earth Brewery for the first time to actually go to the manufacturing facility. Quite a facility out there. It really is nice. I'm looking forward to them opening their brew pub and brewery also in Boise, downtown Boise, here in the next month or so. And I'll be visiting that place all the time because I love their beer. But that was nice that I will say the server, the beer tender on the site at Mother Earth, fantastic. She did a great job. Very, I don't know, interactive, and enjoyed having people there and chatting with them and giving them good beer. And of course, also the beer tender that was at Family 2C or 2C Family Brewing was fantastic too. He and I chatted a little bit. I told him how I was really impressed with the diverse tap list he had, and I kind of gave some constructive criticism against some of the beers that I had. There was a couple that that I thought were a little bit off, but for the most part, I thought they had really good. Their lagers were really good. I really enjoyed their lighter ales, so that was good. So yeah, raised my glass to my buddy Alex, and I had other people to raise my glass to, but you know what? I forgot. Cheers to you, Chris, and to my daughter Haley. Right, we're recording a week early because my daughter will be in surgery next Monday, and I won't be available to record. So Chris was gracious enough to record a week early so we can have a show that will release on time. And hopefully everything turns out well with my daughter's surgery, and cheers to that.
Well, not only that, and her new puppy.
I'm not cheersing that. That's just one more headache that I have to deal with while she's recovering. That's not a good thing. And also, being a former serviceman, I want to raise my glass and thank all those who have served and are currently serving the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. And I'm starting to slur my words. So cheers to you. Come back safely to your family very soon. And Chris, please relieve me of my speaking and give a toast to our sponsors.
I got you, Denny. At the forefront of the craft beer movement, Brewer Shirts was one of the first to create apparel that celebrates the art of brewing and the love of fine beer. Never too trendy, always comfortable, and offering affordable quality, they screen print their gear by hand in their studio using eco-friendly inks, materials, and processes. Visit their online store at brewershirts.com and use the coupon code TAPTHECRAFT2020 to receive 15% off full-priced items.
And you can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned on the show in the show notes, located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untappd at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
You can never follow me on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie. It's just like drinking Eagle. That never gets old. Or you can find me on Untappd and Instagram at MCK1345. And guys, make sure you go follow us and subscribe on all things social at Tap the Craft.
All right. It is last call, and it's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening. We ask you to please tell a friend, and of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast listening app. And as a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.